Hi everybody, I'm Dave Eagle. I run the Stargazing Planetarium and I love getting people out to enjoy the night sky. So today's video is going to be all about the planet Venus. Now Venus is visible in the western sky just after sunset, just after it gets dark. So get out there and have a look and I'll show you what you would expect to see. So it's very bright in the evening sky. So if you look in the western direction, which is where the sun sets, you should be able to see after dark the planet Venus starting to appear. But I'm going to tell you all about the planet first. Here it is. This is taken by one of the probes that went and visited them. We can't see the solid surface. It has a solid surface underneath, but it's covered in these thick clouds. And these clouds block everything, so we can't see the surface. And if you was an astronomer on the surface of Venus, you wouldn't be able to see the night sky at all. So we wouldn't probably even know that the universe existed. It's just slightly smaller than the Earth, so it's almost like the Earth's twin, but it is very, very different. The atmosphere is extremely different to the Earth's. It's got a thick carbon dioxide atmosphere. We talk about global warming on Earth and the carbon dioxide levels going up. On Venus, the carbon dioxide is very, very concentrated. There's lots of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which makes it very thick. And so if you were to step out of a spacecraft once arriving, if you went to Venus, it would crush you because it's so heavy. Of course, you wouldn't be able to breathe with all that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And that carbon dioxide also creates this greenhouse effect. And on Venus, on the surface of Venus, it's actually hot enough to melt lead. So not a very nice place to go. Even worse than that, it also has sulfuric acid rain. So really not a nice place to go. They call Venus the goddess of love, but it's not going to love you if you went to visit. Okay, so Venus is currently visible over in the western sky, looking like a very, very bright star. And we see it as a certain size, but as the Earth and Venus get closer and closer to one another, no problem, it's not going to hit the Earth, it's going to go past us, because Venus orbits between the Earth and the Sun. And as it comes around, it's getting closer towards us, so it's actually going to get bigger. And then because it orbits between the Earth and the Sun, the angle of sunlight changes. So we see it have phases very much like the moon's. And at the moment, because it's going in between us and the Sun almost, that phase is actually getting thinner and thinner. So we see it as a crescent getting really, really thin, and the planet's also getting bigger. Here's a picture I took yesterday, and you can see it looks like a lovely crescent, a bit like the moon, going through the phases, and I've been following that now for a good number of weeks. So here's the images I've taken with my telescope showing the phases of Venus as it's getting closer and closer to us. And you can see a couple of things happening. You can see it's gone from the 13th of April, when it's nearly half a phase, to yesterday, when it's a really thin crescent. But it's actually going to get a lot thinner than that, as you'll see in a moment. But if you look carefully at those images, you can see that on the 13th of April and yesterday, you can see that the planet is actually increasing in size. It's not actually getting bigger, it's just because it's getting nearer to us, its apparent size looks bigger, and so we're seeing it get bigger. And let's show you what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. So here's yesterday's Venus, showing you the nice crescent phase, and then by the 15th of the month, so the middle of May, we're going to see it much, much thinner. You can see the phase there is much thinner, but look how big the planet is. It's going to get about, I don't know, a quarter to a third bigger than it is now. So I'm hoping to follow it for a good number of weeks now to try and show that happening and add it to my collection down there. And one of the questions I'm normally asked is, do you need a telescope? Well, to get really good views like I've got there, yes, you do. But do you know anybody who's got a pair of binoculars? These can be used really well because Venus actually becomes big enough, and it's actually big enough now, even before it gets at its biggest, to be able to be seen in binoculars. You have to hold them really steady. You could use a broomstick or something to hold them steady on, but look at Venus, get it focused, and you should see that crescent phase. So give them a go and get out and have a look. So here's the view towards west. You can see this was last night, about 9:30 in the evening, and you can see Venus showing quite nicely. A little bit further down, we got the glow of the sun where it's disappeared below the horizon, and you may just be able to see the star cluster called the Pleiades or the Seven Sisters down there. And Venus was close to that star cluster last month. But as the days go on, as Venus gets closer and closer to the sun, it gets lower and lower each evening. And you can see on the 7th of May, it's a little bit lower. It's not too bad at the moment, but it's going to get really quick as it gets closer to the sun. But you can see the glow of the sun is actually getting brighter, because as we go towards June, the sun's setting later and later each evening. So we have to get up a little bit later. So by the time we go out on the 14th of May, you have to go out at 10 o'clock before the sky is really dark. And there you can see the glow is a little bit less, but Venus is much lower down in the sky. But by this time, the phase should be really, really thin, and it should be a lot bigger than it is now. So get out there, get your binoculars, and have a look at Venus. And then on the 23rd, it's almost gone by 10 o'clock in the evening. You can see the glow is getting even brighter again at 10 o'clock in the evening. And then you can see Venus quite nicely just sitting just above the trees just as it gets dark. So it's almost gone. But you notice just to the left, there's another bright star, and that's the planet Mercury. That's actually orbits closer than Venus does to the sun, and that's just gone around the back of the sun. So it's actually moving in the opposite direction. So it's overtaken Venus, and it's started to appear in the evening sky. And the next day, the 24th of May, you'll see Mercury is still there, but Venus is virtually gone. It's gone a little bit lower, and it's as soon as the sky gets dark enough, it's almost gone. You may just catch it, but again, make sure that the sun is below the horizon before you try looking for Venus, because we don't want anybody looking at the sun. But the other thing you might notice on the 24th, the moon has actually gone round in its orbit again. So you can see just to the left of Mercury, there is an extremely thin crescent moon. It is extremely thin. If you look out on the 25th of the month, you will see the moon's a little bit further away from Mercury, and it's a little bit of a thicker crescent, but it's still really, really thin. And at those times when the moon's a really thin crescent, you can see the dark side is actually lit up. And that is caused by sunlight reflecting off the Earth's clouds and reflecting onto the moon, and then reflecting back to Earth. And so we actually see that lit up by what we call Earthshine. So have a look for the Earthshine, because it looks absolutely wonderful in the evening sky when you can see it. So get out and have a look. And for 2 or 3 days, either side of that, it should look really, really nice. Okay, on the 3rd of June, Venus is actually going to be at its closest to the sun. I'm going to be following it as long as I can. But I think about a week either side of the 3rd of June, I'm not going to even attempt to take any photographs of it, because it's going to be way too close to the sun for me to capture. And then from mid-June onwards, it actually starts to appear in the morning sky. Venus is known as the evening star or the morning star, depending on when it's actually visible. And so from mid-June onwards, Venus is in the morning sky, and there's 3 other planets, Jupiter, Saturn and Mars, visible in the morning sky as well. So get out there, have a look at Venus while it's still out there in the evening sky. So keep safe, keep well, and keep looking